There we go. Okay. Hello, and welcome to Kiss List Confessions, where authors of kissing books talk about kissing. Today, I have with me author Kate Bateman, and I am very excited to talk to Kate. She is an author of some really hot historical romances that are lots of fun. Badasses in Bodices, I believe, is what you call them.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, so we'll talk a little bit more about her books. But before we get to that, we dive right in and talk about the kissing.
Right.
So I'll have you can go ahead and say hi first. I'll warm you up before we jump right in.
Hello, everybody. Hi, nice to be here. I think I'm going to reserve judgment. It may not be fun. I don't know.
So we start simply enough, even though it seems simple, but it can actually be a little tricky. The first question is, describe your first kiss in 3 words.
This is really bad because my 3 words would be, I can't remember, which is a terrifying question.
Those are 3 words. I can't remember. So you had a first kiss, but you can't, is it because, do you know like the fuzzy, is it fuzzy?
I can't remember. I mean, honestly, maybe it was at primary school. I literally can't remember. I have no idea who it was. It was clearly forgettable, unmemorable, unremarkable, like all of those things.
So then how do you know it happened?
I vaguely remember kissing people.
Okay, so there is some memory of.
Yes, there's no single one person that I can remember it being like a really big deal that this was my first kiss. So, which is terrible, but clearly it was pretty forgettable. I mean,
so how many people were you kissing, Kate?
Well, I mean, throughout. In context, I was one of the 6 girls and went to basically an all-boys private school.
Uh-oh.
I was one of the first 6. So there were 1,000 boys and 6 girls. So we had basically a lot of choice. So I think I was spoiled for choice. So this is possibly the problem, is that this is coming across badly, but it wasn't a free-for-all. I'm just saying I can't specifically remember who was my very first romantic kiss behind the bike shed thing.
That you might want to have led with that little piece of information. So you went to a school, like 1,000 boys, 6 girls at this boarding school. Yes.
So it had been an all boys boarding school from like the 1450s, and then finally the year I went, they decided they needed to kind of hoist it into the 21st century or the 20th century, and invite some girls. And we were the first year, so by the time I left, it was trying to get co-ed. By about 7 years later, it was sort of 40-60. But my first year, there were 6 of us. We were like the lab rats, and we got away with murder. I mean, they had no idea what to do with us. It was all male teachers.
This needs to be like a Netflix series, like the six girls who kind of overtook.
It was a bit like St. Trinian's. I mean, we did get away with absolute murder because the men knew nothing. I mean, they'd literally been institutionalized. So the teachers were scared witless of the girls. Most of the boys were either scared stupid or thrilled that there were finally girls wearing skirts in the whole place. So it was a fun time. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, so I can't remember is your description of your first kiss.
Which is terrible. I should have said something super romantic.
No, it's fascinating, and the story behind it makes it even more like just. I'm picturing the opposite. I'm picturing Dairy Girls, where the one boy has to go to the all-girls school, but it's not quite the same thing.
No. I'm assuming it was some kind of party and some kind of spin the bottle thing going on, and it could have been any one of several people. But yes, I mean, in my defense, I was mostly too young to take advantage of those odds. So by the time I left in upper 6, I was getting the hang of it. But for about 5 of those 7 years, I had no clue, and I hated the boys. They were all idiots. So it took me a while.
Well, if we're talking about like middle school age, is that what we're talking about? Like
we're
junior
talking
high?
12 to 18. So I would say.
Okay, yes. So they are kind of yes. No offense, but.
And in fact, my actual husband was in the same year as me. I didn't speak to him for 7 of those 8 years, and in fact, I only literally spoke to him in the last year because he was, one of.
So he went to school with you. Your husband went to school with you.
I really did, but we're clearly not childhood sweethearts because we didn't get together till after school because clearly he didn't get a look at until then. So
like that's a whole story in itself.
we were classic enemies to lovers. It's terrible.
Well, you're coming on my Meet Cute show, right? My Mad About Meet Cutes.
Am I? I don't know. I should do probably.
I think you are, and when you are, I am going to make sure that we hear this story. But we're going to stick to the kissing today.
Yes, well, that is, I can't remember, is my 3 words. I'm really sorry to say. It's shameful.
It's a good story. I find that I love it. All right, so now you can't remember who you've actually kissed, but like as far as fantasy land, whoever you might imagine yourself kissing.
Yes.
Now this is obviously, yes, we know you're married, your fantasy celebrities might be married. This is in fantasy bubble. Maybe
yes.
You've been cast in a movie together and you have to kiss.
Yes.
So who are 3 celebrities that you would like to kiss?
Well, so I was thinking about this, and I'm not going to say any real celebrities that I've kissed or not kiss and tell, but the weirdest.
Oh, actually, yes, that was one of my questions was, are there any celebrities you have kissed?
I'm not going to say, but
okay, no kissing and telling.
The weirdest semi-celebrity I've kissed, in the sense that I can talk about, is the policeman on the door of number 10 Downing Street. I know this needs some background. I'd been invited to a party to go to a reception with the Prime Minister, and I was young and foolish and drank a lot, obviously. And my friend and I at the time had this stupid contest, which was who could be pictured kissing the stupidest thing. And the week before, she'd kissed a police horse at like the Grand National. And so me and my drunken state coming out of this reception with the famous black door behind and the policeman, and thinking, I know, I can get a photo of me kissing the policeman with the door in the background and it'll be brilliant and Sarah will never get a look in. And so I did. I did ask permission in the Me Too era. I asked, could I kiss him? And he said very politely, yes, madam. And so I kissed him on the cheek. And someone took a photo. Thank God the days before actual, phones with cameras, because this was an actual camera. And so the person I was with has a picture of that somewhere that is out there somewhere. I haven't seen it for years, but there is a picture of me kissing the number 10 Downing Street policeman. So that's the weirdest sort of kiss. But in terms of my 3 choices, I'm going to say first up, my true love, Santiago Cabrera, who is the actor who plays Aramis in the BBC adaptation of Three Musketeers, who is just beautiful and ridiculously handsome. And every time I say I hate people with facial hair, he is the one person that even with a mustache can prove me wrong. So
ridiculously handsome and the only exception. I love it.
Yes, he is the only exception to men with scruffy facial hair. So yeah, Santiago Cabrera would one. Next up would be, I was thinking Trevor Noah, because there's nothing, I find him very attractive. There's nothing more attractive than an intelligent, funny guy. And he has beautiful lips. He has the most kissable lips. So I would say Trevor Noah would be number 2 for me.
I love that pick because I agree. He's incredibly charming and funny and smart.
Charismatic and sexy. Yes, he is.
Yes, Kate, I am on board.
You're with me on Trevor Noah. Okay, so we've got Trevor. And then last up would be, this was a toss-up, but it's Travis Fimmel, but very specifically in the role of Ragnar from Vikings. Ragnar the Lothbrok.
That is on my TBR pile. Like, I haven't watched that show yet. It
was between him and the guy that plays Uhtred in Last Kingdom. So clearly I'm going on a bit of a Viking phase at the moment. But both of those, I don't usually like the alpha men with battle axes, but clearly I would say that both of those are very attractive people. So
yes, and there's something. I mean, yes, there is a vibe to that as well that might be fun to indulge in.
And it's such a step away from. It's such a fantasy that is quite clearly not in real life. You'd send them to the shops and they'd kill somebody and you get in trouble. But in fantasy land, I think that would be a lot of fun. So in an emergency situation, then yes, I would have to kiss one of those 2.
Okay, so this next question is a little bit different because you can be more creative. It is 3 fictional characters you think would make great kissers. So you may not have necessarily seen them on the page kissing or anything like that, but like something about their personality, something about their character makes you think, okay, that would make a good kisser?
So I thought long and hard about this, and I had a very long list, and it was hard to narrow down. But
I love that you had a list and then you narrowed it down.
I was like, well, yes, there were quarterfinals and heats to get to this. So my top is, bear with me on this one, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, because he's been in prison for years, and I'm not saying desperation is attractive, but he has had a lot of time to plan this and think about this and savor this. So I'm thinking that would be a very good kisser, because he's not had the practice, but the will is there and the desire.
Yeah, and there's all of that built up behind it. But okay, yes.
And I think that's a person who knows how to take their time and enjoy the moment. So I think he would be an exceptional kisser. And I'm channeling Jim Caviezel in that role. If you've ever seen that film, he's another ridiculously beautiful man. So that would be my first choice. The Count of Monte Cristo would be that. Because there's something really attractive about a guy who really wants you. I think that is a very attractive trait. So that would be number one. Number two, I'm going for a bit of a bad boy thing. I have just watched the Shadow and Bone series based on Lily Bardugo, and I think the Darkling, who does have an amazing kissing scene in that show, he would be an excellent kisser. Because he's a bit of a bad boy, and it's probably a mistake, but I still think it would be an indulgence, and I think that would be great. And he has a great backstory, and he's pretty much immortal, so he's got a lot of time on his hands. So I'm thinking that would be
really practice and get it right.
Yes, I'm thinking, that would be quite a fun evening. And the last, so I'm torn. Any of Anne Stewart's heroes would be good, because she writes brilliant bad boys. But for books, one of my book boyfriends would be Harry Braxton from As You Desire by Connie Brockway, which is in my top 5 historical romances. Have you ever read that?
No, and I'm going to have to write this down. So it's Connie Brockway, As
You Desire, and
As You Desire.
It's set in Egypt in like Victorian era. The heroine is an Egyptologist, and she's geek, and the hero is also an Egyptologist, and it's a kind of friends to lovers thing.
I've never read Connie Brockway. I will have to check it out. I read all of the Elizabeth Peters books but those are not like hot romance. Those are kind of more. There's
this
romance.
one really hits. It's like weird historical context. It's just a really good one. She's a bit hit or miss. Some of hers I've not enjoyed a lot, but that one.
I have to check it out. It feels like it has a mummy vibe to it. By the way,
exactly that, and the hero is just amazing. Like there's a brilliant there's the contrast between him as the friend who knows her forever, and she's always fancied but he keeps turning down, and the kind of traditional English hero with black hair and a brooding manner, and he's just useless, and he buys her roses, and the hero's like, well, he gives this amazing speech about her being his country and all this. It's amazing. So,
so I like that kind of twist. Like she takes the one that they usually fall for.
Yes. And he's boring, and he's brooding and gloomy, and that's what she's supposed to be attracted to. And he's just like, are you serious? Look at this guy. He's an idiot. And he really is an idiot. So, and there's a line in it where she says, he says something like, his lips look like they could tell a difference between grains of sand. And I thought that was such a great, they're so... She's completely affixed by his lips, and so I just think he would be a great kisser because he really loves her as well, and he would be.
Okay, you sold me on this book. I'm going to have to check it out.
Any book that opens is brilliant. It opens with a sort of pastiche of the heroine. It's like this sweeping. She's in her fictional diary, and she's writing this sweeping, desert shake fantasy with him coming over the hill, and basically she's drunk on fermented goat's milk. So she's having this completely, and she thinks this hero's riding over the hill to rescue her, and she's like, oh bugger, it's Harry, and then she ruins everything because he's the anti-hero, and it's so funny. It's really good.
I love it. All right, yeah, I'm gonna check this out. So we're gonna move on to actual kisses that you have seen on the screen or on the page. So 3 favorite kisses.
Wait a minute, this was not on my original list. Have I missed a thing?
It's on the list.
Is it? Have I missed a thing? I did not do that one.
That's okay.
I had 3 ideal kissing locations.
That's next. Yeah, that's next.
Oh wow, we'll do this cold then. Okay, so what am I doing?
So you're just okay. You don't have to come up with 3 if you can't think of 3 on the fly. But
3
this is favorite
favorites.
actual kisses from books, movies, TV.
Well, I posted about one yesterday on my Facebook post.
How convenient.
Which was handy because one of my favorite TV film kisses is in The Room with a View by Merchant Ivory in the cornfield in Italy, and he doesn't say anything and he just comes up to her and kisses her, and it's so romantic and so unexpected.
It's very atmospheric, yeah.
It's amazing, and there's this sort of swooping score over the top of it. So that would be
there you go. See, I think it's funny.
That would be a great kiss. That would be a good one. Wow, I'm trying to think of some others. I suppose the ones are the ones you've waited for forever. Like in shows, they're the ones that you've waited 10 seasons for them to finally kiss. And there are loads that I really wanted. Like I ship loads of characters that never get together. So I have these really weird, like Game of Thrones, I genuinely wanted Sansa and the Hound to get together because they would have been the best combination ever. So most of my favorite kisses have never actually happened except in my brain, where I'm like, that's not an acceptable ending. Like I've rewritten every ending to every book because it's like Anna Karenina's gonna live happily ever after, and she's, so yeah, I don't know.
I think a lot of fan fiction is born out of people being like, why haven't they kissed?
Exactly. I'm trying to think of books. I mean, I think Laura Kinsale, who's one of my favorite writers, she has some pretty memorable kisses. I'm trying to think of some. I mean,
she's one of my favorites too, so I'm on the same wavelength. I do love her so much.
Very memorable. And in fact, there's a couple. I mean, there's always the scenes where they've done everything except kiss. There's quite a few books with that kind of trope where they've, it's a bit like the Pretty Woman trope where the last thing they do, because it's so intimate, they'll have sex no problem, but to actually kiss them. So I suppose maybe Pretty Woman is the kind of the text on that. That is the whole, like, that's the most intimate thing, is the final, when they finally kiss, is kind of a nice
right. It takes it up a level that it never would have been at before, because it sends this message of that connection that I'm giving into that has more meaning. Yeah.
So that was good. I'm trying to think of a literary one, like in a book that I'm trying to think of my favorite books. Oh my goodness. One more. There's so many. I mean, I still love all those the TikTok at the moment, which is like, I kiss my best friend. I am addicted to those, where it is literally they play this piece of music and then unsuspectingly they just kiss, and the reactions are so good. So
I still have avoided TikTok, but I know what you're talking about, because you cannot, you see them, they seep into all social media. So I've seen them. Those can be incredibly awkward.
Some of them are real, but some of them are so sweet. So I mean, that's the point. I think that, you're cringing at the same time and hoping they're gonna, and it's so sweet because it's the first, you can see it's the beginning of this relationship, and they're surprised, or they, it's all the feels.
Yes, all the.
So that's a cheat, but yeah.
TikTok that's fine. So the TikTok, kissing my best friend reaction videos. Yeah, that's
kind of cute.
Those are, yeah. I'm so jaded. I'm always like, these are fake. Like,
some of them are clearly not the first time they've done it, but yeah.
Yeah, but if there's like a genuine one, that's sweet. All right, so now we are going to move on to 3 ideal locations. And now this could be from your personal experience or something on your bucket list that you think make great places to kiss.
Again, I had to narrow this down. But my first pick, they're all from sort of personal experience. So the first one was going to be Central Park in New York, because that's where I got engaged. And I totally wasn't expecting it. I'd been with my husband for like 8 years before we got married. So we're in Central Park, and there's this big, it's probably got a name for it, there's this big fountain and arches and things up the top end. And that's where I got proposed to. And embarrassingly, I, instead of saying yes, absolutely, I said, "Are you sure?" Which is a terrible thing to say.
Way to ruin the moment.
I was like, "Are you sure?" Okay. Yes, in that case. But so there we go. That was a very romantic place.
That's very iconic, Central Park in New York.
It's in lots of films, and that. So that was one place, and then the second one was our honeymoon, which was the Amalfi Coast in Italy, which was absolutely gorgeous. There's like all these strings of little beach towns, and there's like Ravello, and so they are just beautiful. And there's lemon groves and olives, and it's all just a fantasy land. So
It sounds incredible. Yes.
so
I think
yes,
I watched Under the Tuscan Sun, I think is a movie. And like the scenery is just you fall in love with the scenery.
yeah, it's exactly that. And the food and the wine and just everything about it tastes better because it's sunshiny and just gorgeous. And
So very sensual, yes.
yes, and I dragged my poor husband to Pompeii, and so that that's pretty close, and up the Vesuvius in places. So I mean, there's history as well. So there's a bit for everybody, and I suppose that was it. Up on the there's like a big.
He got rewarded for all of that with a good kiss.
Yes, exactly. A bit of sunset, bit of sea, sparkling turquoise sea. Yeah, that's a pretty romantic place.
Sounds very romantic.
And the last up, we're sticking with Europe, is the Alhambra Palace in Granada in Spain. And I have been there, and it's beautiful. It's on this big hill, and there's it's all hot, and there's cicadas, and it's a big plain with mountains in front of you, and the Granada's spread out. And it's the architecture is amazing. It's this big Moorish palace with all these kind of intricate stuff and fountains and ponds. And I was there with my sister. And there's all these couples, getting married and, taking pictures. And there's me and my sister like, wow, should we do a selfie? This is awkward. So I would love to go back with my husband because it was super romantic and gorgeous, but actually go back with somebody that I actually want to kiss.
Yeah, like that's a great one. Like the bucket list of places you've been that you are like, this isn't so romantic, but you're not with the person you would like.
I was with my sister, who I dragged, bless her, I dragged her to Spain. In fact, I dragged her across to Morocco. I told her we were just going to Spain, and then I kind of kidnapped her. I took her on the ferry that was just going around the coast, and then we ended up in Morocco for 3 weeks. So
for 3 weeks?
She's forgiven me now. I took her on a tour, but it was great fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. That sounds like fun.
It was fun.
All right. So we have the scenery. Now we need to set the mood with the music. What are 3 songs that would be on your kissing playlist?
This was the hardest of the lot. This was because there's so many specific moments and times and different types of kissing, but it was really hard. So, okay. I need some honourable mentions, possibly, because I couldn't narrow it down to 3. But first up, just for sheer fun and joy, is Charlie Puth and Meghan Trainor, Let's Marvin Gaye and Get It On, because that's such a funny song and it's got such a good bass. And it's just fun. It's like a summer, let's do it. It's got a great, stupid lyrics, and I love it. And it always makes me smile. So that would be number 1. Number 2, and this shows my age, would be U2 With or Without You. And this was way before they used it for Ross and Rachel in Friends, because this was like one of the first albums I ever bought.
So I have never really watched Friends, so I didn't know that is a thing. So, but I mean, I love U2. I love With or Without You. It's an incredible. The song is so
such a great song.
The mood of that song, yes,
exactly. It's so good. And my friend at school, one of the original 6 girls, was obsessed not with either The Edge or Bono, which is everyone else, but with the Larry Mullen Jr., who was the least attractive of the bunch. So I was dragged around to all sorts of U2 fan things with her. So that's why that means something. But it's such a great
and the song, I guess, and the song itself is not it's not like the kind of romantic. If you listen to the lyrics, it's not quite as the dreamy romantic song people make it out to be.
Not at all, but it's a kind of, I do kind of like that kind of desperation of like, you drive me nuts, but I can't live without you kind of thing, which I like that kind of dichotomy, I guess. And then the last one, because I crossed off Wicked Game by Chris Isaak, because that is a great song, but it doesn't make my top 3. Neither does Something Stupid by Frank Sinatra, because that is also brilliant lyrics, and I love it, and it's really fun. And this is the stupidest song, but it is a song I kissed to, or I have kissed to, because it was the first song at my wedding, and it is not the song that everyone assumes. And talking of non-romantic lyrics, my husband chose this, and our song is Elvis, Caught in a Trap, which is Suspicious Minds. And I know that's a weird song for a wedding, because he just thought it was really funny, because the first line is, we're caught in a trap, I can't get out, because I love you too much, baby. And we played this at our wedding, and that just sums up his ridiculous and our stupid like humor about it.
It's super cute. So Suspicious Minds by Elvis.
Suspicious Minds by Elvis was the song we kissed to and danced to at our wedding as our first song. So it's so stupid. And it's all about, not believing people and being suspicious of them.
Oh, but that song is like rom-com gold. Like
it's so funny. So that to me, and I think part of, romance is humor and having a laugh and sharing a sense of humor. So that to me, every time I hear it, we just fall about because it's so stupid. And
I can see the two of you having like a fight and you're off in your corners and then you hear that song.
It really will be because we didn't tell anyone what our first song was going to be. And for our wedding, our musicians had fallen through. So we ended up getting a really, really ridiculous 4-piece, like one-man band kind of thing. It was so stupid. So it was not what we planned, but we ended up with this and they played it and no one, all the guests' faces who were expecting some kind of romantic thing, and then they played this and everyone was just like, what? They
thought you were trolling them.
It was so good. Or they thought something like dramatic was going to be like, we're suddenly going to break up the day of our wedding because he's going to come out with some kind of, I know you've cheated. It was so good. So that would be it. Elvis, Suspicious Minds.
I like how you snuck in 2 other ones. So we'll make sure to include all of those on the list. So if you're listening or watching this, there is going to be a Kiss List Confessions playlist on Spotify with all of the author's choices. And we'll make sure to include Kate's 5 choices.
Yes, I'm sorry. But the other 2 are super sexy too, in their own way.
You are not the first author to do this.
I suspect not.
It can be hard. I mean, music sets the mood. Music has so many, connections to things. So yeah, it could be hard to narrow it down. And they all had great stories. So
yeah, and I think that's it. Music, and they're also personal. Like it means nothing to anyone else, but they make me laugh. So that's why I think they're fun.
All right. So before we say goodbye, I would love to hear a little bit about what you've got coming up next, like what you've got coming up as far as books.
I am on a horrible deadline of 10 more days to finish my next book, which is the second in my new series. But the first of that series is called Reckless Match, and that is on pre-order right now. That is my they're kind of 2 warring families in Wales and England. And that's coming out in September, but it's on pre-order now. That's Reckless Match. And
Reckless Match by Kate Bateman. And yes, I remember when you talked about this book, you said it was kind of like the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Yes, Hatfields and McCoys in Regency, England. So yeah, they say to each other, we make the Montagues and the Capulets look like amateurs. And so these are 2 families that have hated each other for 500 years. And they can't even remember why. It like started over someone stole a pig or a woman or something, and they don't know why. So this is my favorite, enemies to lovers, catnip. So yes, book 1 is out in September. Book 2 is I'm just finishing now, and I'm on deadline. And book 3 will be out early next year. And book 3, speaking of Wicked Game by Chris Isaac, is actually called A Wicked Game because I managed to sneak that in as a title.
I love it. So I always love when I see that happening. And historicals do such a fun job with that. And you don't even have to change it. Like a lot of times they'll play with it a little bit. But this one, so yeah.
So I've got a Reckless Match, a Daring Pursuit, and the third one's going to be A Wicked Game. So they're all kind of fitted in quite nicely with, reckless, ruthless, wicked. Mm-hmm. So I did quite well. Yeah, so that's that one. And then my last, you can get a free novella. If anyone wants to join my mailing list, you can get a free, speaking of Connie Brockway and Egypt set novellas, I also have an Egypt set novella called Promise of a Kiss, which you can get for free for joining up to my mailing list.
All right, so make sure you do that. Make sure that you join Kate's mailing list to get the free novella. And and check out her other books. So I'm Melanie Johnson, and this is Kate Bateman, and this has been Kiss List Confessions. Bye.
Bye.
All right, or this will all get cut, so they don't have to worry about them seeing me do this.
I can't believe I missed a question. Oh my God. I didn't even
That's okay. We're still,